Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. Next to me, I have Troy Ismir. And today we're discussing spirit, mind, and body. Yes, it'll be the first time we've talked about body. I've talked about body in this series of podcasts. My book is called Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body. And sometimes we forget the body's pretty important.
It's very important. Yes. I've been a personal trainer for 30 years, and we're going to get into that story a little bit, but it used to be all about the body, but it's integrating spirit, mind, and body. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
So today in our discussion on the body and integrating spirit, mind, and body, I'm going to begin with a quote from Jean Klein, a very well-known and respected non-duality teacher who also integrated yoga, working with the energy and physical bodies into his teaching. He said, the relaxed body is a relaxed mind. In a relaxed body and mind, you are open to receiving, available, welcoming, open to openness. The relaxed, light, energetic, sattvic body mind are a near expression of your real nature. It's almost impossible for a conditioned body mind to be receptive to truth, open to grace. It can happen, he says, that truth pierces through all conditioning, since the insight into our true nature ultimately has nothing to do with the body or the mind, but it is exceedingly rare. And that's where we're going to start today. The idea that our body can be used as a vehicle into the truth of our being, and to either ignore or just not pay attention to what's going on in the body can be really detrimental, I think, to our spiritual growth.
Or the other side is to be obsessed with our body. So I think it's about finding that balance.
Well, that's really true, because being obsessed with the body, we can easily see how that would maybe limit our energy, our time and energy for our spiritual integration,
right?
Let's say.
Yeah.
When we listen to our body, when we feel through our senses and perceive the thoughts, memories, conditioning of the mind, when our listening is completely unattached, we can perceive or become aware of what we need to do to take care of the body mind. We allow the body mind to be an instrument of our awakening, of our awareness. And I've found that I can really do this by becoming the observer of my body, becoming the observer of the sensations in the body, becoming the observer. We've talked a lot about observing our thoughts, things like that. But when we observe the body, amazing changes can happen when we listen to the inherent wisdom in our body.
Yeah, our bodies have this body wisdom. It's this intuitive wisdom that our body gives us messages such as hunger, fullness, pain, all these things that are signals to us and to our body. And it's really that awareness and paying attention to our body, which is really important. It's a vehicle that we use to experience this world. And it's easy, like you said, to either neglect or to obsess. And how do we find this balance? I think
Mm,
a great place to start is to be in touch with our body. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And I think we're going to talk about that. And breath is certainly one of them. A practice of qigong, is which I'm a qigong instructor, is being in touch with our energy and movement. And I do believe our bodies were meant to move, and we become a very sedentary
yeah.
world society. But I do believe our bodies are meant to move, and that helps us to feel good and to cultivate this energy, this chi that's within us.
And of course, I come from the background of the prana,
Mm,
same life force energy,
right.
and pranayama is this, I think, Sanskrit term. Prana is the chi, the life force energy, and yama means to control or to use, to work with. And what does qigong mean?
Qigong is gong means skill and qi means energy. So it's the skill of working with energy, and we are energy bodies. So that's really important to cultivate that within this physical body is the qi and the energy, and how we move and how we work with our energy to cultivate this vitality. And that's the truth of who we are, is energy and vitality and health and well-being. It's gotten lost along the way. And our world suffers from disease and obesity and so many of these illnesses. And I think part of this message today is getting back to the truth of who we are. And this is this health and well-being of this energy body that manifests as this physical body, and just getting back to really taking care of ourselves in a very holistic, and I've come to realize just a very simple way of moving and eating healthy, and meditation and breath work. It doesn't need to be complicated. And going back to our body knows, and it's this intuitive wisdom and being guided of what do we need to eat today? How much rest do we need? What are we putting into our mind as far as what are we thinking about? It's again, it's that integration of spirit, mind, and body.
Body.
And I kind of correlate it to, we have this wheel which makes up spirit, mind, and body. And if we're not healthy, if we're not taking care of our body, the wheel goes bumpity bumpity bump. It's not very smooth. Our life isn't smooth. And we're kind of distracted because we don't have the energy. We're tired. And that's what I really work with my clients with, as a inner transformation coach and a personal trainer and a qigong instructor. It's an integration, and
Mhm.
if we're all about the spirit and neglect our body, we're gonna have a wheel that's out of alignment, and vice versa. If we're all about the body and we're not spiritualizing our consciousness, we become just singly focused, and that's not healthy either.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier about the idea that a lot of times if we are experiencing if we're not paying attention to what we put in our body regularly or even just on an occasional basis, we all probably have that feeling of overeating on a special occasion, Thanksgiving or a wedding or some, birthday event, and we just have too much. And when the body is that full, or we've eaten something that really doesn't agree with um, the way our body digests, then our body is sending signals that that it's heavy, it's weighted, it's uncomfortable, it can't digest properly. And those are signals that are usually uncomfortable for most of us.
Right.
It's the full feeling, it's uncomfortable, we're tired, we don't have the energy, And when we are like that, the mind is and the body's sending signals, the mind's interpreting. We're caught up in this space of not feeling good, really, not having that clean energy move through us. And it's very hard to be present in a moment when the stomach's rumbling and the digestion's not working and the joints are aching and things aren't working properly. So we get it, it's easy to think that the body doesn't matter so much or that it will take care of itself, but that I find that that's what happens, at least in my life, is that the body starts, knocking louder and louder, and it's hard. You get caught up in the energy that it takes it's just my I'm focusing on my body
Right.
and but the disease, the uncomfortableness,
Right.
the lack of energy, the lack of vitality. And so we definitely use different programs to focus on, as we said, the life force energy, the chi, the prana, and to move that energy so that we can be present in the moment with what is and not feeling
Mhm.
the uncomfortableness of our body. And I know you use qigong, but
Yeah.
do you want to tell you have a very interesting story of going from athlete to
Yeah.
bodybuilder
Yeah. I'll just
to
share briefly about my journey about my body and spiritualizing my consciousness. But yeah, I've been grew up all about sports. The first word out of my mouth was ball, not mom. But I've been an athlete my whole life, and I still consider myself an athlete. So I was very body focused for years and played football in college, blew out my knee, and then I got into bodybuilding and talk about a
focus.
sport that is focused on body, and it's an obsession with the
Yeah.
body. And so for years obsessed about how I looked, and I'm consumed by it, and a lot of tendonitis because I was overtraining and my identity was in my body. And that's so many people's story is we're so obsessed with how we look. And as I started to develop the spiritual aspect of myself, I really, it became less about the body and more about the spirit. And it's again finding that balance and that transition from, yes, my body is important and I still work out every single day, but it's not my main focus. I want to feel good, I want to have energy, I want to have vitality. And yeah, I still want to look good, but that's kind of a side effect of this lifestyle. But I'm not obsessed with it anymore. My workouts are maybe 20 minutes consisting of band work, and then I do qigong work. So I work on my physical body, my energy body, my spirit body, my mind body, and
Hmm.
I bring it all together, and I feel good.
Yeah.
And part of that is nutrition. I adopted a vegan lifestyle about 4 years ago, and I think the key is finding what works for us, for each individual person. And that's where that intuitive wisdom, that being guided by the spirit to follow our own path. What works for me is not going to work for you, which isn't going to work for, we're all unique. We all have our own unique energetic expression. So therefore we all need to eat for our own body and what feels good and what's simple. And we've made health and fitness very complex from an outside in
Mm.
perspective. So I believe it's from an inside out way of looking at things, being guided by spirit to say, what do I need today? What does my body need to feel the best that it can be? And I think we've lost touch with that in our
Yeah.
world. And not to
Well,
shame anybody, but like 90% of our world is over fat.
mm,
And I think we really need to take a look at that, and what changes do we need to make uh, to start to reverse that trend. So again, we can be healthy and whole, which is our
well,
natural state of being.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were saying 90% of the world is over energetic? Over
Yeah,
healthy. Not that you can be over energetic, but you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
energy flowing, vital, vitality flowing, where we are in the flow of what we want and need and are called to do in our life. And it's funny because I loved what you said. I'm going to go back. You said every day, and I know this is true, that you work on your physical body, your energy body, your mind body, and then spiritually, you have your,
right.
where you go. And isn't that interesting? Because most of us don't think that way. And I'm going to invite you to really, if you haven't looked at it in that way, that whatever we put our attention on, our intention is um, to feel better, to be better. What we would put our attention on, we can do those four things
Mhm.
for even 15 minutes a day and watch our life change. Because what I've found, and you mentioned this as well, that our bodies will tell us what it needs if we stop listening to our habits and memories and past conditioning. And the only way to do that is to show up in the present moment. So the present moment, what we need today, isn't what we needed 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago, maybe.
Right. Yeah, that awareness of, just like an example of around hunger and fullness. We've kind of, most of the time we're eating for reasons other than hunger.
Right.
And again, it's that intuition, like, am I truly hungry, or am I eating because I'm stressed, I'm bored, uh, whatever that reason is? And it's like, do we need something else? Like, do we need to focus on our breathing? Do we need to go for a walk? Do we need to de-stress instead of going out of habit, going to the refrigerator and then eating because we are hungry, and then stopping when we're full? It's just paying attention to these cues. And again, we're so conditioned to look for something outside of ourselves to de-stress us or fill us up or whatever the
Right.
case may be.
Satiate us,
Yeah,
make us feel better.
yeah.
So I think that's the number one thing. We're eating for some other reason than hunger. And
Hmm.
that's the point that you made. And to really back that down, when it was getting my doctorate during COVID, and I was writing and reading a lot and doing a lot of online courses. It's COVID, so there's not a lot of things to do. And I remember getting up and down to the refrigerator constantly. And I
Yeah.
developed this
Yeah.
this little habit though. But what I did is I'd open the refrigerator doors and I would say to myself, I am conscious. I
Mm.
am conscious as I open the refrigerator doors. And consciously, that just was a little trigger, and it was non-judgmental. It was being
Yeah.
the observer. Am I conscious while I open the refrigerator doors, while so then it becomes, well, what is my body telling me? And I will say 9 out of 10 times I closed the refrigerator
Yeah.
door and went for a walk.
Yeah.
I needed to stretch my legs. I was, you know, had to move from sitting for too long, or my brain just wanted to rest and do something else, and I didn't want to eat.
Right.
And so being conscious, using these little awareness games, just saying, I am conscious as I walk into the restaurant. I'm conscious as I look at the menu. I'm
Right.
conscious of what my body is really wanting in this moment. And sometimes we can consciously splurge.
Yeah. And it's that.
You won't, but
Well, and it is. It's conscious. Like, I consciously choose that I'm going to have this piece of chocolate cake, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be present to it without guilt. And
yes.
that's so often the story I hear from my clients. Or we splurge, we feel guilty, we feel shame, and then the cycle continues. And it's like, consciously choose what we put into our body. And if we know that there's a certain celebration, yes, I'm going to have a piece of cake or whatever, ice cream for me, and
Yeah.
and I'm going to enjoy it and be okay with that. so oftentimes I talk about we feast and we feast and we feast and we feast. There's not like we call famine. It's time to just allow our body to digest the food, and it's so easy to overconsume
Yeah.
food. I mean, we're really set up, I say set up to fail in our society because there's a fast food restaurant on every
Oh
street
gosh, yeah.
corner. 90% of the food in the grocery stores are not healthy. It's processed
Very
foods.
processed and
So we have to take control over this. It's a conscious choice. Read labels, educate ourselves. Uh, what do I want to put into my body so I can feel good and have energy, and choosing this as a lifestyle for ourselves, making a commitment to ourselves that we are going to eat healthy and move and take care of ourselves. And it doesn't take a lot of time. I mean, I say I do all these things, but it could be as simple as doing a 15-minute walking meditation where you incorporate everything into that 15 minutes. You're doing a walking meditation, you're praying, you're meditating, you're getting some exercise in, and then you eat a very simple and healthy meal
consciously.
consciously. Yeah, it's time is something that is an excuse that we use, but it's more of a priority of how are we going to spend our time. And I think it's getting away from the conditioning and the habits that we've carried with us for many years. And I get it, it's not easy to break habits, and I think getting some support and accountability and help not to go on this journey on our own of when we're trying to make these changes that are very ingrained in our lives, and we all have them. We all have these habits that aren't serving us, and how do we start to change these habits? And we're just happen to talk about the body this week, and most people, many people are very addicted to the sugars and the processed foods, and that's the way the food is made, to be addicted to it. And
Yeah.
it's actually really sad to me.
Well, it's funny that you say that also because our bodies can literally tell us what it wants. And I've had this experience I don't think I've shared with you, definitely not with you guys listening, but one morning I woke, this is during that same time,
Mm,
I think during COVID, man, maybe it was right before, it was before that. But I woke up with the strangest dream, and usually I wake up with these downloads. I have
mm,
these wonderful ideas, and I wake up pretty peacefully and happily, and some gratitude going on. But I
mm,
had this dream that I was the blueberry girl in Willy Wonka. Do you
mm.
know the one? She blows up like a
Yeah.
big blueberry, and all you see is a little tiny head and a little tiny like arm sticking out. And I was like, oh, that was the weirdest dream. And
Mm,
it really struck me. It was so different.
mm,
And I immediately, was like, that was weird. And I hear this voice clear, like you couldn't believe. And it said, stop eating gluten.
mm,
And I was like,
mm,
what? No, because I don't have anything. I mean, that was a big thing going on and no gluten. And I was like, no, no, I've eaten gluten my whole
mm,
life. Bread, pasta, toast, sandwiches. I'm just all about the gluten. And I hear again, louder, more obnoxious, stop
mm,
eating gluten. And I started to argue probably one more time, and it came again very clearly. And I was like, fine, I'll listen.
mm,
I went downstairs, and instead of having my usual toast, I don't know what I had right now. I can't remember, but it took a little bit of education,
mm,
not much. But in 3 days, I hadn't noticed that my joints were kind of achy and certain things. I was bloated. I didn't even know because it crept up on me. But with that change in my body, whatever it was, I noticed a huge difference. And I eat gluten now, but so much less and less processed, um, just more whole grains and whole foods and things like that. So it was a huge change in my life. And but the biggest change was that my body felt amazing, the energy that
right.
cleared up from eating less gluten. And that was a really weird, obvious example because usually my body's a little more subtle when it tells me things. But if
Mm.
I'm not listening, I guess if I was missing all the signals of being, my joints were the worst thing. Like I just didn't realize. And a lot of times we'll go to our doctors or friends or people, and they'll say, "Oh, that's just you're getting old. That's just what happens." Don't believe it.
Mm.
Believe in the intuition and the health of our bodies. There's a blueprint in what I would call the mind of God or the infinite creative spirit of our perfect health.
Mhm.
And it is informing us all the time. But when we clear enough space and energy, when we clear the habitual thoughts, when we clear the constant um, thinking about, obsessing about things, in the silence, we can be informed of exactly what we need easily and effortlessly.
Yeah, and I think one message is if you try to get healthy or lose weight, it's easy to get discouraged, and why try again? And if you can do it in a different way and being guided by spirit rather than trying to go by willpower or force things to happen. And I always say try again, but don't do it under your own power. Be guided by the spirit of, again, this intuitive wisdom, kind of like to your point, is listening and kind of getting out of our own way and doing it in a different way that you've ever done before. And I think that's really important because it can be really frustrating to lose weight. And I think pretty much everybody has tried to lose weight at some point in their life, and it can be really challenging. And I think if we're trying to do it under our own power and force things and grit our teeth, it's really, really challenging. It can be done, but I don't know how sustainable it is. And I think doing it from being led by the spirit is a different way to look at health and weight loss. And
And
I think
in
that's the way to go.
integration,
Yeah.
as opposed to now I'm focused on this one thing.
Right.
And when we obsess over something, when we put it all in our mind like that, then we kind of create resistance to what is.
Mm.
But when we take sort of a more natural, non-judgmental,
Mm.
compassionate
Yeah.
approach to ourselves, um, I think it has a much better effect, not only mentally and emotionally, like you said, but on our physical body. We can retrain our body. And something else you mentioned, just I think on one level, I mean, the easiest thing is we all know, not only intuitively, literally what's healthy. I
Mm.
mean, most of us
Yeah.
know that sort of an organic apple is going to be better than a processed apple pie. I'm just
Really?
I'm just gonna say it. Most of us know that, eating something organic, some whole food. Like I said, pretty much ate bread all the time and pasta, but now there's so many like less processed breads and things that are
Mm.
so much healthier, and my body doesn't react to the digestion process or how it goes through me. And
Right.
it's amazing. I just wasn't listening to my body to be aware of what was very subtly happening
Right.
incrementally, so I didn't feel it. And I know that's how most of us gain weight. Most of us even acquired dis-ease. If I had just
Mm.
kept eating gluten, I don't know what would happen to my joints and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
And I think it's easy to take our health for granted, and then when it's when it's kind of taken away or we something happens, we realize how important our health is because again, our body is how we experience this life, and
mm,
it's a this vessel that we use, and we get to take care of it. It's just think what this body does on a daily basis, just the heart beating and the eyes, what they can see, and the ear. It's just like if we step back and think about it, I want to take care of it like this precious vessel it is. And honestly, I abused my body for many years with overtraining, and my body was saying you're inflamed. I was
yeah,
tendonitis, so I was on the extreme other end, which isn't healthy either. And I finally got the message like why am I doing this? And it was very ego driven. And now I've realized that I can be healthy and fit and not be in chronic pain by listening to my body. And now my body overall feels really pretty good. I mean, the energy, the vitality, but I had to make some changes in my life. And without listening to that, I think I would have been in a lot of trouble health-wise. Even though I looked good on the outside, I was really struggling with inflammation and pain. So I think we all have our story of what does health and well-being look like? What do we need to do to make some changes? And what are the simplest changes that we can make that can make the biggest difference in our life? Because it can be very overwhelming. And maybe it starts with just eating a better breakfast. Maybe it starts with going for a 15-minute walk in the morning. Maybe it starts with just doing some deep breathing.
Getting a coach or personal trainer
Yeah,
or life coach, who's
an inner transformation
an inner transformation coach. Well, be both of us. There you go. But so I want to kind of like next week, I think we'll talk about uh, the way we eat, which is vegan. Um, but what I always say, because you just mentioned, just changing your breakfast or something like that. And what's my favorite quote that you say about how to eat?
Your favorite quote?
Yeah, it's how should I eat or something like that. And your answer is you quote someone when you do it. It's like
Uh,
eat food.
Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite quotes as far as simplicity is from Michael Pollan. He's a journalist. He's written a couple books, but eat food, mostly plants, not too much. 7 words. That's it. Eat food, so real food, mostly plants, plant-based, and not too much. And
That's kind of what we do.
it's really that simple
Right.
from that perspective. Or another thing that I say is just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. So we can not have to be real restrictive in what we eat. And
Yeah.
then we think of diet, what's the first 3 letters in diet is DIE. So we think of restriction, die, but it's not. Diet is how we nourish every cell in our body. And the question that we get asked, do we eat to live or live to eat? And I've made a conscious choice is I eat to live, to energize and nourish my body. And that's just been my lifestyle for many, many years. And I'm very passionate about healthy eating. But
Yeah, but when you met me, now it tastes good. I
it tastes good before. I
don't
want,
know.
I
I don't know if
want,
I couldn't have gone vegan if it didn't really taste
no,
good.
of course,
Like to have something that inspires you that you're going to do several times a day, eat, then you want it to inspire you. Same with working out, same with your
right.
workout routine, same with your relaxation routine. Like rather than it be restrictive or something that we have to do or we force ourselves to do, it really should be and can be, I'll say, exciting, fun, um, healthy, of course, but it feels good. It's not feeling restrictive. It's not feeling like, oh, I can't have almost everything.
Sure.
It's joyful, a joyful experience and a
Yeah.
joyful expression.
Yeah, it's a get to, and it should taste great. I mean, there's no reason for it not to. And I think learning and exploring vegan eating and how to make it fulfilling and tasting great is it's fun. It's we really have a lot of fun cooking together, learning about the vegan diet and what that's all about and the good it does for our body, what it does for the environment, of course, the
Well, that's
difference it
next
makes
week.
with animals. That's a preview for next week. Tune in. But yeah, again, it's finding the lifestyle that works for each individual
Yeah.
person and having fun with it. And it really is, it's a get to, and I think it's a commitment to ourselves to live our best life. And part of that is taking care of our body.
Yeah, being free in our body.
Yeah.
That's That's an amazing gift we give to ourselves. I mean, we're given the gift of a body, and now in taking care of it, we become more and more
Mm.
free. Even as we age, at any age we are in, we can be as free as we can be at that point. I love that. But I want to end on another quote from Jean Klein. He said, when one asks oneself the question, who lives? Meaning who is alive, who is living, who lives in this body. We can never find the one who lives. It's an idea, a concept. When that is clearly seen, one awakens in life. When we clearly see that who lives is a concept, we awaken. There is only one life. Life lives itself. Then there is this perfect spontaneity. He said, life expresses itself through our body. We are a channel. We are the way life shows up on the planet, in this world that we call this world of effects, world of affairs. This outer world of seeming matter.
Yeah, and I love this last quote. I'm looking here at our bodies have an idea of health, of wholeness, and we can open ourselves to that idea when we turn within and listen.
That's my quote. Thank you.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that quote by Elizabeth Cantey.
Yeah, that's
it really is. It's beautiful because I believe that is so true.
Yeah.
We do know what that means. We do can feel that, and I think that's just seeing ourselves as healthy as whole, and that's who we are.
Yeah.
Cool. Good quote.
No, thank you.
That's not Jean Klein.
No,
That's
no.
Elizabeth Cantey.
And the other ones were,
Okay.
talking about me.
Nice.
But some of these concepts are in my book. I forgot the name of my book.
Living Enlightened.
Thank you.
Integrating the Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body by Elizabeth Cantey. It's a great book.
And there's some information on my website, elizabethcantey.com. And Troy's written a new book.
Yeah, True Power is Inner Power. And it's 99 poems to inspire greatness within. And it's just a fun read. And I believe you'll find some poems in there that will resonate with your heart and soul. So check it out. That's on Amazon too.
And your website, Troy Ismir.
Yes.
ISMIR.com. Thanks for listening. We're so grateful you're here. If you like this, go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe, and you'll get all of these as they come up. And share it with a friend if they want some inspiration into listening to the incredible intuitive nature of our bodies and being able to integrate spirit, mind, and body. I hope you spend this week laughing, loving, and living enlightened every day.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next Tuesday at 7 a.m. Mountain Time for Living Enlightened with Elizabeth Cantey. Integrating your spirit, mind, and body. Learn more at www.ntmedia.org.